Previously on Illusion of Gaia. Hello again, and welcome back to Nathan Plays Illusion of Gaia. My name is Nathan, and this, of course, is Illusion of Gaia on the Super Nintendo. In the previous episode, we found our way to the desert village of Dao, where we looked around a little bit, got another vague threat from the jackal, and discovered that there was a pyramid nearby that, of course, requires our investigation. Perhaps one or more of the mystic statues will be contained inside. Let's take a look and see how it goes. Dao was nice. Nice, a little small, but it was pretty okay. I mean, aside from, of course, more slave labor and the sort of depressing prospect of those ladies working on rugs for their lifetimes. So off we head to the pyramid. Inside, we've got a long staircase heading down and a new sort of orb that fires lasers. Why not? They're a little bit annoying. Again, thanks to the flickering effect, you won't always get to see the lasers, but rest assured they shoot pretty often. I've got a defense increase pretty easily, and opened up a save point. It contains a new statue that we've not seen before. This time I decided to talk to Gaia first. The dark power has become strong here, and I can change into Shadow, the ultimate warrior. She then decides to grant me an item. I now have the Aura. Did I not have an Aura before? Don't people have Aura? Anyway. The Aura is Shadow's mind. When he holds it up, his body becomes like water, apparently. Only a small part of the pyramid is above ground. So I should change into Shadow, advises Gaia, and head underground. I record my progress and pick up this new ability. It's apparently made from the light of a comet, which is kind of awesome. And makes some reference to being the ultimate form of human consciousness or something. Here we go! For being formless, I'm pretty ripped, turns out. So, Shadow is kind of a blue and greeny sort of fire guy with an impressive looking arm attack there. The R button, which spins the flute on Will and does the draw in thing on Friedan, sets him on fire. Again, thanks to the flickering recording effect, you can't always see that there's somebody in there in the fire. It looks like I just burst into flame in this video, but it sort of flickers back and forth. Well, now that we're Shadow, let's go see what's up the steps of the pyramid. Ready for anything. Actually, I went up these steps first and discovered that they led outside. Ah, nuts. Which meant that I was now Will again, and so I had to run back to the save point, change back into Shadow, and then attempt the pyramid. Curse my curiosity. Here we have a small room with a couple of spots inset on the wall. There's an explorer here who has not died somehow, and he tells me that there are sound-activated booby traps within the room, so probably we shouldn't be talking about them right there, but whatever. We'll let that slide. So at this point, I poked around the room a little bit more and tried to discover what its purpose was, and when I went into my inventory, I noticed, oh, there's that aura that Gaia was talking about. Let's test it out. I melt into a puddle of water and reform. Oh, that's kind of nifty. Maybe that'll come in handy. After an embarrassingly long time messing around in that room, reading the journal over and over, I finally decided to try the aura out here, where the brick pattern kind of reaches down. And lo and behold, I sink through the floor. And down to a new area. There's a save point here. Nothing new as such, except the ability to change into either Will or Friedan. Gaia doesn't really have anything to say. And so this area makes the kind of hub of the rest of the pyramid. So after showing off my new move to dive off of ledges, which I think looks kind of cool, let's talk about the pyramid. The pyramid, this being the hub area, the pyramid is comprised of 6 doors leading to 2 screens each. The screens sort of head further down into the ground. It is the largest and most non-linear dungeon I've encountered in the game thus far, and it made for a real headache in terms of the way I tackled it and editing. And so what I'm going to be doing here is giving you more of just a basic overview, kind of a quicker, overview is the word, of the dungeon and what was inside of it, rather than the blow-by-blow account that I've done on previous ones. Just because it was such a headache in terms of editing, and it's just way too much. It took a long time to get through it, actually. It took the equivalent of 3 episodes of recording that I'm chopping down into one. So here's a new enemy type, sort of a bird head statue guy. I think we've seen something like him before. This one has a shield, though, and has to be struck from certain angles in order to actually do any damage, or get him when he's just about to attack. As you saw, I tried pretty ineffectually to use the water, my form of water there, but it was to no avail. The pyramid inside here, they love to set up lots and lots of traps with these laser orbs that are incredibly annoying to get at. And you'll notice that anywhere you can see the bricks trailing downward like that is a place that you can turn into water and head further down. There were also more of these blue circles on the floor that I had not figured out yet, as you'll see in just a second. Once I'm done filtering through the walls there. And with 6 times 2 screens, that meant 12 power-ups, mostly defense ups, and a number of red jewels as well, which was actually quite nice. I do admire the way he dashes as well. I think that's kind of cool, sort of the forward float there. There's another new enemy type that are literally invisible. This is not one of the effects of the flickering on your screen. You actually just cannot see them at all. The only way you know that they're there is by checking the map obsessively, which I learned to do, or when they throw fireballs at you. After you've hit them once or twice, they manifest themselves as a little floating bird head, but until then, they are completely invisible, which seems like a great idea. At the bottom of each of the 2 screens and the 6 doors, there is a lithograph room. And in each one, you can pry one of 6 lithographs off the wall, or hieroglyphs, rather. Get your terminology right there. And after quite a while of poking around, I finally figured out that these blue plates do have a purpose. Once I mash the right button, it turns out that they're teleports back to the top, which saves you a whole lot of walking. Although this dungeon still did have quite a lot of backtracking for me, because certain areas need to be accessed with certain characters, and because I did them out of order, I had to take fairly meticulous, well, not meticulous, after a while they became meticulous notes about what I had done and what not. As you can see here, I had to switch to Will in order to get across a chasm that they'd set up for me. No sweat. And more of those invisible enemies. Thanks, guys. It seems very cruel to tie the leveling system to... First of all, to tie the leveling system to making sure that you clear out all the enemies, and then making some of those enemies just straight up invisible. In another area, I had to switch to Friedan in order to hit a button from far away, as he's so good at doing, which raised a very slow elevator. Friedan was actually quite nice to have around here. The fireball attack meant that I could charge up and do a good amount of damage to those laser orbs without actually having to get close to them. Although I still get hit pretty often, as you'll see. Kind of tank my way into them a lot of the time. There was another new enemy type later on in the pyramid, which was mummies. Every good pyramid needs mummies. These ones split open pretty easily with an attack, and then an evil spirit flies out and attempts to dive bomb you. Mostly they can be hit away before they get to you. If they do happen to hit you, they just vanish. And I thought, will they come back? Nope. They get in a hit, and they're done. They're still not scary. Mummies aren't scary. At a certain point, I tried to peel one of the hieroglyphs off the wall and discovered, to my horror, that my inventory was full. As a pack rat, in role-playing games especially, it was extremely difficult for me to do it, but I had to use the remove command on the item, which actually just dropped something. It was a difficult decision, but I felt pretty positive that I wasn't going to need the last will and testament from that guy that I beat at Russian Glass like a million years ago. So I tossed it. But my inventory was still full, and so I decided to attempt to set some of the hieroglyphs that I had collected into the wall here. I mean, after all the time I put into this game, I will not be able to get the pause button and the inventory button straight. The Explorer is gone, and now I have the option to choose with each tile I'm carrying which hole I want to put them in. Obviously, the journal with your father's instructions will be very helpful in this regard, because he gives you the exact order. I think I actually started off on the wrong note there and had to correct for it later. Oh yeah, see, I put the spaceship one in where the regular bird is supposed to go. It's a regular bird, snake with a spaceship, smoking pipe, anyway. So I got rid of the rest of my hieroglyphs, and I also decided to make a trip into town in order to get rid of the red jewels that I'd collected so far. It was a quick hop over, as quick as traveling in this game ever is. And thanks to the condensed nature of the town, I remembered that the jeweler gem is standing right there, so I gave him 3 more. How close am I to my next unlock? 30? Oh man. Well, I may get 30 by the end of the game, but I'm definitely not going to see 50. Of that, I feel pretty confident. Here's another one of those rooms that you might just walk right through without realizing that there are 4 of these stupid invisible bird head things in. Had I just popped around the corner and gone down the stairs, because there's a slight delay before they fire, I might never have known. I also came across this fairly horrifying spike trap. But thanks to diligence and Will's ability to turn into a small tornado, I was able to get past it. I mean, what's a pyramid without a spike trap, right? At long last, I secured the last of the 6 hieroglyph stones and was reasonably satisfied that I had cleared out the rooms before that in order to get their power-ups. And so it was time to install the rest of them in the wall and see what happens. Had to check over the order once again. I had put Fancy Bird in the first slot instead of just Regular Bird. Regular Bird, Snake Spaceship, Smoking Pipe, Baby Thing, Fancy Bird, and Clouds? Okay, let's start with Regular Bird. But then, a twist. Why, who's this mysterious man? It's the Jackal! He's finally here, ladies and gentlemen. After all of this time, the Jackal has shown up and he's got Kara kidnapped. Apparently the comet is biotechnology. And I'm related somehow? He's envious of my ability to change into other warriors and things. And it turns out that his working for King Edward involves trying to recover this power. Because King Edward is nasty and wants to take over the world, probably. Why not? Kara pleads with him to stop. But the jackal isn't having it. He's going to take us all back to Edward Castle and undo all the hard traveling we've done. Until a voice whispers in my head. Play the flute. So I open up my inventory and equip the only song I haven't forgotten. My one song. Recalling, of course, that the room is booby-trapped for sound, although, our conversation apparently had no effect. And after playing through Blondie's Heart of Glass one more time, for old time's sake, the jackal gets set on fire. I escaped, somehow, despite being in about the same range. It's kind of terrible. The hand there. That really seals the deal. And with that, exit the jackal. All that build-up, and we set him on fire. Kara pontificates about the nature of conflict. She's traumatized, I understand. That was a lot to go through. You know what, I'm not going to criticize. And then she backs up, almost stepping on the flaming corpse behind her. You might want to step away. Anyway, then she apologizes for breaking down after watching a man get brutally set on fire in front of her. That's nice, you know? She didn't have to apologize, and I'm glad she did. That wasn't necessary, but it was a cool move to do. She's back on message, back on target. She's going to stand there and warm herself on the bonfire for a moment. She comments wryly upon the flute song that I played. And I set to work installing the rest of the hieroglyphs. With the last one in, there was a sound over the entrance. I tried to see if Kara wanted to come with me to check it out. And she did not. No, she's going to stay there with the corpse. Alright, that's cool. Oh, a new portal has appeared. Let's do a safety save first and return as Friedan. The mummified Queen of the Pyramid. Are you ready? Look, she doesn't look mummified at all. She looks fine. She's actually extremely tall. So she's got a couple of main attacks there. I kept doing that downward stab thing because it was awesome, but it never actually helped. My attacks kind of chip away at her health, as you might expect. What she likes to do is try and throw bricks at you, and every time you hit her, she splits into a bunch of little spirits that will seek you for a few moments before returning back to their original form. So this is kind of a war of attrition. I wasn't really especially good with my tactics, and I ended up taking a lot of damage along the way. Although I did figure out at a certain point to use the teleports a little more wisely. Wait till the spirits are closer to me before diving away. She does have other attacks that I'll show you in a moment. As soon as I'm done clumsily walking into those things. One of them is that ball of light you saw there. She's fairly fond of that one. And as the fight goes on and you continue to do damage, she actually goes through a little bit of a palette swap and facial change, becoming steadily more hideous as you go on. That's kind of a neat touch. Still, for a ancient mummy pyramid queen, she's in remarkably good shape. The last attack of hers is to turn into sort of this spinning spirit wheel of death and lazily wander back and forth around the room like a screensaver. Not intensely difficult to stay away from, although I managed to get hit by it all the same. And then she went back to her usual seeker attack thing. A little more of that, and it was time to call it a day. I did end up using an herb during the fight. But altogether, it went pretty okay. And I have 5 out of 6 mystic statues. The jackal is just a smoldering ruin now. And the voice I heard in Edward Castle comes out of my flute to tell me that I've done well to come this far. You murdered a man with fire. Good job. I'm supposed to bring the 5 mystic statues to the tower. because they hold the key to the fate of humanity. I sense an endgame coming on pretty soon. Hey, Care, you want to get out of here? I'm not really sure how I'm going to get over to the Tower of Babel, as it's on a small island. Oh, Neil has built another airplane. Oh, goody gumdrops. Yeah, I guess we'll chance it. There's no other alternative, I suppose. With that, we're back in the desert village of Dao. I'm about to talk to Neil, but before I tugged on that plot thread, I decided to call it a video. So, next episode, we'll hop back into Neil's airplane, hope we survive the journey, and see if we can get to the small island containing the Tower of Babel. Personally, I'm hoping the real treasure is friendship, but we'll find out soon. Thanks for watching, and see you next mission.